Today. It's going to be Beastcoast versus XSET. Now, the big story here is Beastcoast finally got their first win yesterday of the stage, and they did it in style. They looked very, very good. They looked very strong yesterday. XSET as well, on the other side, coming off of a very narrow loss. So this is another opportunity, I feel like, for Beastcoast to maybe get another win in the books.
Yeah, they've got the MVP of last Playday on their side, so they're going to be looking strong to come in here and take down Beastcoast. It was a very good game, the last Playday, when they were playing on Chalet. It felt like Beastcoast, we've talked about their struggles recently. Anthony not performing sometimes. Sweater was actually a player we highlighted as somebody that wasn't necessarily surviving very often. He had the most opening deaths of any player coming into Playday number 3, and then yesterday he went 5-0 on entry. So completely turned that around, flipped the script, and said, screw it, I'm going to pop off, I'm going to have good games. That's exactly what happened.
I mean, sure, if you can put up that kind of performance every week, fantastic. That's exactly what you want. I don't think one performance, even though it's against a Space Station team that very clearly is having some struggles right now, is indicative of them continuing to do this for the rest of the stage. I still feel like one win does not mean you're all of a sudden fine. Everything about your team is hunky-dory. But it's nice that we saw a performance like this from Sweater because, like I mentioned in the pre-show, it's indicative of more communication. It means the team is able to react to the calls that Sweater gives if he notices that there's an opportunity, and that the team as a whole is able to execute when noticing that there is a weak point in their opponent's defenses, because that was the biggest thing that we harped on from earlier. Noticing the Beast Coast attacks were struggling, this felt like just the pinnacle of that kind of improvement.
Yeah, I mean, looking at a EPS of 190, that's our new stat that kind of encompasses basically everything, right? And if you think of 100 as a baseline, as average, below 100 is not good, above 100 is good, 190 is about as good as it gets.
Yeah, new stat, new record, 190, the highest we've seen so far in the North American League. Sweater, he is just better, at least when you look at the numbers, and it follows through, right? I think the main thing he was doing, obviously, was those entry frags and the 4Ks and aces on Finca, but he also had some really impactful plays on defense as well. Had some huge C4s earlier on in that game that got them started against SSG, so very excited about him. I also think some of the other players on this team had pretty solid games, and we talk about Anthony. He is still the lowest rated player in the league. He's 10-4, he's 10-24, he's a .31 KPR, but all of those stats are improved. When you look at their, his stats before Playday 3 and you look at them now, every single one of them are up. So last game was still a good game from Anthony. He's getting those averages up. It's gonna take another game or two to get him out of the bottom spot on some of those positions, but he's getting better. We're seeing improvement from Beast Coast, and that's what you want to see.
Honestly, the main detriment, I think, for Beast Coast from yesterday was sometimes when they played on defense. It's on Chalet, they got forced into some corners by Space Station. Even though I feel like Space Station's attacks weren't nearly as fast as they could have been, sometimes you look at this Beast Coast roster and wonder, how are they going to play this site? They played upstairs and Master, specifically, and I remember SSG just kind of swarm from a few different sides, trap Beast Coast on site, get a few kills, and there's not really much to write home about at the end of the day. Simple things like that, I feel like, it's not that they escape Beast Coast more often than not, but on defense, sometimes you can play a little bit more outside the box, and sometimes it feels like maybe they'll challenge one room on a drone, fight that, and then somehow they won't be able to do much impact for the rest of the round, or sometimes they'll play in some whack spots. That's what we criticized Sweater from doing from before. He was better about it today because most of his impact came on the other side of the ball, but maybe on Beast Coast side, if we end up going to a map that provides a little bit more defensive flexibility, I wouldn't mind seeing the way that they move room to room, wasting time, change a little bit from how we saw them play Theme Park in week 1.
All right. I mean, we've also got, we had Drip in the interview yesterday after the game as well, and you got to love the attitude on this team, right? It's so confident, it's so brash, and you're going to need it against a team like XSET, who's kind of like, who's got that same attitude, but the difference is as far as NAL goes this year, they've got the results that so far Beast Coast hasn't quite achieved, but maybe now.
I just appreciate the fact that Beast Coast was laughingstock last year. And we look at this team now, and we don't associate Beast Coast with being the NAL's Jacksonville Jaguars. We don't look at this team as having a lot of good pieces that could be maneuvered in the right way, but being misused. We don't look at this Beast Coast roster anymore as a team that has a lot of critical components just done out of position. They're all doing exactly what they're meant to be doing, but it might be like a matter of discipline, a matter of timing, just more time to gel together. They're doing considerably better than where they were last year, and that has to be highlighted even if they're not at the top of the standings right now.
Yeah, one last note from me, though, is that Sweater's not wearing the cat ears today. And
so they're going to lose.
Sure
Cool.
Now, the question is, was that something that just boosted his confidence, or was there really mystical powers within those cat ears? You can see there, he's sans cat ears today, and that concerns me. It concerns me, but we'll see how it goes. We got to talk about their opponents as well. XSET, one of the most exciting, most fun to watch, best teams we've got in NAL, but they lost yesterday in overtime against Parabellum. It was as close as it got. They did not play poorly by any stretch, but you know, a loss is a loss. Like, you got to try to pick it up again today if you want to make it back to Berlin, if you want to prove that you've shaken those land jitters that Kino told me they had on stage in Charlotte and get that major win finally.
Look, I still thought this team looked really good from a defensive front. They played Oregon. It didn't really feel like it was all that out of whack. If anyone was making weird decisions in this game, it was always on the attacking side. But this is where I'm curious how much having Bodega not in their lineup actually is affecting them. We highlighted this yesterday, but these guys didn't call a timeout. I thought maybe they would after they'd already won their very first overtime round to ensure that they could lock down the second. They didn't do that. They also didn't call it after they lost the first overtime round. And there wasn't ever a time where the way that they've used this effectively in the past made itself manifest here. When they call a timeout, it's usually because they notice some trend throughout a game, and Bodega is able to recognize that, relay it to his team, and then they won't have to worry about something that their opponents are doing ever again from that point. They didn't do that yesterday. They still played a very strong game, but their attacks did not feel like they were doing what they were supposed to.
I feel like XSET, I mean, I really like a lot of their attacks. Going into the start of that game, I thought they were off to a pretty solid start. They did go down kind of 2-1, but it was a close game. They were battling it back. I thought they were able to shut down a lot of really close flanks. Kino had that really sick play off the top floor when they were trying to defend on the main floor, where he just stopped the double flank coming up, one coming up through the lobby stairs, one coming up through tower, flicked around, was able to get both of those. But I do agree what you were saying. Towards the end of that matchup, they definitely did kind of lose control, and I think having a coach behind them might have helped a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's an effect that it's an effect that's full scope remains to be seen, but as the stage progresses, it's definitely something we're going to want to track here. But another thing we want to track is what map we're going to be playing on, and that we're going to find out right now. The bans are in, so let's see where we're going.
Couple of permabans off of the board. First, Club and Theme Park going to be taken out of the pool. Clubhouse, a map that Beastcoast have not won since 2020. Of course, many players switching across that roster in that time. They're going to want to take it out. Border and Oregon. Border being banned out by Beastcoast is a bit of a weird one because it's so often banned by XSET themselves. They perma-banned it right up until the major playoffs, and then they had one game against the Straws where they actually managed to play it, and it was kind of a close one. So surprising that they'd waste a ban on that, and then they go for a third ban on Chalet. Beastcoast just rolled over Space Station on Chalet, and so you've got to imagine they feel confident on it. I guess they felt like maybe they exposed something they didn't want XSET to take advantage of. XSET, for their part, are not a crazy good Chalet team. I mean, 2 plays in the first 2 weeks of the North American League Stage 1, a loss to TSM, and then a win over Parabellum. That doesn't scare me necessarily if I'm Beastcoast on Chalet, but I guess they've got different plans.
Yeah, and the rest of this ban phase, I feel like kind of went the way that I expected. We are not going to see Beastcoast play Cafe unless they are trying to save that for like major contention or something, because they haven't played it over the past 3 months. XSET not wanting Villa is curious because that's a map that historically they've always shown a willingness to try, but instead they opt for Bank. This is honestly probably one of XSET's best maps, especially given their Charlotte in Stage 1 performance. For Beastcoast, the last time they won on this map was when they played SSG, when SSG were fighting to get to Charlotte, when they were that close, and Beastcoast pull off the one upset of the day where I knew we were going to see an upset, and that's what we saw. So I'd say XSET definitely has a favorable map here, but it's not like Beastcoast can't win against good teams here.
I mean, extremely important. The last time these two teams played back in Stage 1, when we had this big rivalry going, of course, it was on Bank, and that was a 7-3 victory for XSET. Now, we saw Beastcoast right afterwards run it back the Playday after and beat Space Station, but still, XSET on a 3-map win streak here, so this is going to be a tough game regardless.
It's going to be a tough game for both teams. It's going to be a tough game to predict as well. And that's kind of where we've reached at this point is predictions time. It's time to find out what our casters and analysts think as far as who is going to win this first map of the day. And first, I'd like to send it over to our casters, Blue and Stokes, who are sitting by to tell us what the decisions are. Was this an easy one or a hard one?
You know, I think this one was actually kind of difficult, mostly because of what Jesse said. Bank for Beastcoast just seems to be an environment that they can really thrive in, and it makes them really scary. But, though, I'm just going to say this really quickly. I don't want to do the first pick today. I really don't.
Stop it.
Therefore,
I think
John,
that's fine.
I'm just going to... You want to take?
Oh,
thank you.
There you go.
What's
You
going on?
do the first
what's this
pick.
for?
That's so you can do the first pick, man.
shade,
It's
eh?
just,
Sure.
you just put that right there. You go
Why
get
not?
yourself.
Oh, yeah.
We'll pretend we didn't bring
There you
it
go. You
All right,
go
later.
get yourself some at the dollar store. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Get myself some at the $5.
Don't spend it all in one place.
I'm going with XSET.
Big shocker. Wow,
Yeah.
I would have never predicted.
Wanted to add some shock value to it. Just probably didn't work.
Sam really bribed him to say 4 words before he said his own set of 4 words. I can't believe this timeline.
Get like 3/4 of a gallon of gas in LA with that one.
Sam,
I don't even know if it gets me that much.
Sam, before you predict, I just want to remind you that somebody's caught up to your unbeatable prediction score. If you take a quick little look down
Oh
there.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
True.
That's very true.
Oh, well, you know what
Pressure's
happened?
on,
You know what
Stokes.
happened? I didn't get to see the map choice between Dark
Oh,
Zero
is
and
that what it was?
And what did Dark Zero do to me?
Yeah.
They went to Oregon. That's what they did to me, and it ruined absolutely everything. So thank you, Mint, and thank you, everybody at the Dark Zero organization.
They did that
I'm
just for
now
you.
Tied with a Canadian.
Appreciate it.
So I am just going to, try and hasten the pace here. I think I'm going to go XSET as well on this.
Okay.
I think they're playing extremely well right now. I think Beastcoast definitely have an opportunity to take this map, but XSET for me.
All right, so XSET for both of our casters. We'll check back in with them in a moment when the map actually begins. And now it's time to find out what our analysts think. Is it XSET for you? Have Beastcoast proven themselves enough to be worthy of a pick?
Not quite yet. I'll stick with XSET on this one.
Okay.
I like Beastcoast a lot from what we saw yesterday, but I just don't understand the picks and the bans in this map ban phase. So I'm going to go XSET as well. I'm also not 100% confident that we're going to see the same thing from Sweater without the cat ears. That's the big thing for me.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
It's not
When
necessarily
that's a point of
guarantee
actual
anymore.
analysis.
Listen, it's tough world
That's
out
how
there.
far the mighty have
That
fallen.
sounds
we'll go
esports
XSET.
to me. Well, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday we had a stunt coin in for the real coin which had been lost, but it has been found again. That's
let's
right.
go.
Between Playdays 1 and 2 this week, I searched. I quested
Out
from.
of curiosity, though,
Yes?
what was the prediction percentage on the stunt coin from yesterday? Was it like 80% or something?
I don't remember. I'll check it later. But as I was
two out of
saying,
five.
I quested
was.
from the highest mountain to the deepest cave. I bested the foulest creatures and beasts on my search. And do you know where I finally beheld my precious coin again?
Where, Doa?
It was in my other pants. I forgot it in the other pocket. But anyway, it's time to flip it. It's going to be heads, Beastcoast, tails, XSET. Let's see what it is. It is tails. The coin says XSET. Going with the stats. Beastcoast have not proven themselves to the coin, the force of randomness.
I have a feeling
quite
I know
yet.
what's going to show up on this fan vote.
I think I do too. But let's find out. What's the fan vote say? It says
Yeah.
Okay. No big shock there. I mean, again, Beastcoast, it was a significant win yesterday, no doubt. But like you said, I think there is still a little bit more for them to prove to be worthy of a lot of people's predictions at this point. We will see if they are worthy or not after the series.
My friend Adam is currently behind the scenes, probably at his PC right now, doing socials for Beastcoast, and I know that he just took a screenshot of that. Adam, I love you. You're a good guy. Do not do me dirty on the timeline like this if Beastcoast win. All I ask is you save
no.
me. You can burn them. That's totally fine. Just spare me. Just crop me out.
I think you're well within your rights to burn whoever you wish if Beastcoast take the win. You've got my personal
Adam.
permission. Let's see what our community poll is going into this first game of the day. Who's going to get more LMG kills? Well, there you go. That's the question. Is it going to be Sweater? Is it going to be Spirits?
Spirits plays Yana. What are you talking
I'm going
about?
to say.
I don't know. I guess, well, I didn't make
He plays
that
a
graphic.
bit of Finka. He does play a bit of Finka, so we'll see what he plays today.
Unless Gomez keeps stealing it from him.
Roll swaps. Maybe production knows it more than our analysts do. Who knows? Let's find out. Quick break. When we come back, the first map of the day gets underway. XSET versus Beastcoast. We'll see who takes it right after this.
Thought I would make it big. Now I got all the gold.
I'm Yaga, and this is the NAL.
This is indeed the NAL, and welcome back to it, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to get ourselves ready for the first matchup of the day. Bound to be quite the, well, derby, I guess is what you could call this one. I was trying to think of a better word. Didn't come up with one. It's going to be Beastcoast up against XSET, two of the most aggressive teams we have here in the NAL. I want to point something out, though, before we get into the game. I found an interesting tweet yesterday from the coach of Beastcoast Rams saying that we never get credit for being good or how hard we have worked to improve. Well, there's a great opportunity here today to prove that to themselves, the community, us here on the desk as well, as this is 2 days in a row now where literally every single person, including the audience, has predicted against them to win.
Hey, whoa, all right? It's not that I think that Beast Coast is bad. It's that I think XSET is really good. Also, Beast Coast, a lot of their games tend to be pretty scrappy, especially for some reason when it comes to Bank. They kind of have an affinity for this map. The last time that we watched them play it, we actually saw a pretty interesting strategy come out when it came to their open area offense. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that this could shake out. XSET is the most put together team that we currently have in the NAL, at least stats-wise. I think you can make some arguments strategically to try and go over to some other pastures. But when it comes down to it, Beast Coast can shoot with the best of the best. So again, it's kind of up there in the air. Beast Coast could definitely have a dominant day and take it to XSET, but we could also see Spirits or any one of these XSET team members drop huge numbers here and make it a pretty easy bank.
Yep, I'll explain my worries as to why I don't necessarily think that Beast Coast is going to be able to replicate the results from yesterday. Looking at the game from yesterday, obviously a little bit of a reliance onto Sweater, given the performance that he had in yesterday's game. I do think, though, that there is a possibility we go into this matchup, and even if Sweater doesn't bring the performance he brought yesterday, the team can still do all right. That's going to be because some of the other members on this team still doing very well inside of these matches, so I feel like we could potentially see them step up just because they didn't really need to do so yesterday, with Sweater doing almost all of the work for this entire squad. Meanwhile, though, on the XSET side, things have looked much more consistent throughout this entire stage, for the entire stage. So I feel like, just considering that factor, things are looking a little bit better for them right now, and that's probably the reason for me, at least, that I think they're going to win this one. Like I said, though, at worst, it's like a 60-40 matchup for me, so I still think it's going to be very, very close at the end of the day.
Yeah, honestly, I think it comes down to the lack of cat ears if Beast Coast loses. I think
we're going to bring it up at least once,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. That's when I'm going to hang my hat at the end of the day if they end up losing here on Bank. But I definitely think that you've given the proper opinion there, John. I think it's a 60-40 matchup for sure. Beast Coast is looking better and better the more they play together. Obviously, the first week, not the greatest showing, and Drip obviously exclaiming exactly why in some of his interviews that have been pretty bombastic, but what else do you expect out of Drip? So when it comes down to it, though, I definitely think that we got a ball game on our hands, one that could definitely go either way, but obviously for me, it rests with XSET. The team's been playing so well, even down to Kino, who has been more of in the supporting cast when it comes to the recent history of XSET, but he's still been playing extremely well, getting those tasks done. I think the big player for me, at least from what we've seen recently, isn't only Spirits, but also is Diaz Lucas. We've been seeing quite a bit from him, quite a bit from Yaga as well. This is just one of those teams that when you start looking down the list of players, you can think of so many highlight moments in recent history.
Do have to say, Spirits had a little bit of a lackluster game yesterday, so that's going to be another factor that plays into how well XSET may do here. If he's able to bring that performance back to the table, team's probably going to do pretty well inside of this matchup. But if not, we're going to have to rely on some of the other players like we saw in yesterday's matchup, like Yaga, like Kino, to be able to pick up the slack in those clutch situations and still allow the team to at least come close to coming out on top of this matchup. Obviously not necessarily seeing that happen yesterday. They lose in a little bit of an upset versus Parabellum, but going all the way to the bitter end of overtime to decide it. So still very, very close at the end of the day. Not so much for Beast Coast, as they bring a much more solid upset to the table inside of regulation as well versus Space Station in yesterday's game.
Man, let me tell you, I was riding high off that Parabellum choice as well. I got that PB pick, and I was like, Jesse J, Chick, eat your heart out. And the rest of my day just went downhill from there. That's why you never talk until the game's over. You know, that's really what it is.
All that only to have that TSM pick come crashing down on us 2 games later. You know,
and that was
a rough day. You know. Analyst got us back on that one.
Well, the good news is it wasn't rough for me. It was more rough for TSM. So a little bit rougher for Dark Zero as well. So I'll take it for what it's worth. But we are just moments away, folks, from getting into game. We're having a microphone issue, so we'll get that patched up. Don't worry, we've got the best of the best. Large Tree on it. It's a man there with the long hair and the hat that's currently trying to make sure everything's working on the XSET side. And as soon as we can confirm that, we will be in game with Bank.
Absolutely the case. Some other players that we're going to be looking to potentially step up here today in the Beastcoast department, assuming we don't get another incredible performance out from Sweater, is going to be some of the other members of this team, such as Surf, who has been a pretty consistent play to the table. And even in the last rounds of Beastcoast game yesterday, we saw Surf step up there, pick up some pretty impactful frags to make sure the team got over the finish line and into the winner's circle. So in the event we see, obviously, the star of the show right now, Sweater, not be able to show up to the same degree, he's going to be that next player we're looking to, especially after the entry game is taken care of. That's another reason why Beastcoast were so dominant yesterday, was because Sweater is on that entry position. He was absolutely crushing it, 5-0 over the course of yesterday's game with a .91 KD sitting behind it. So to be a little bit of credit to Surf, he didn't really need to do much because it was all being done by the entry. So hopefully we get to see a little bit more action from him and some of the other members of Beastcoast in today's match.
Yeah, absolutely. I just hope that we continue to see this version of Beastcoast, because before that, Sweater was not exactly in the best of the best of veins. We'll just put it that way.
Very true.
Because, you 5-0 on the entry yesterday, but previously before that, 2-7. So not exactly the best entry stat, but obviously kind of a beacon of hope for Beastcoast that they can potentially turn this stage around early on, which is exactly where you want to get it done, right? We're in the second week out of 5. You want to make sure you're trying to hit your stride early on here, and it seems like they're finally starting to get their footing.
It's just going to be a matter of if they can keep it consistent, which is oftentimes the question. To an extent, we asked that same question of XSET inside of their own matchup, as we were kind of just doing with regards to Spirits there, since he had a little bit of a hit-or-miss play yesterday. That, to an extent, could have contributed to the loss they suffered versus Parabellum. We'll have to see him maybe pick that up, mainly because of the role he tends to play and the operator he tends to pick into. This stat line was kind of at the bottom of the barrel, unfortunately, in yesterday's game, while playing the Yana and the Jaeger. So normally I wouldn't judge this too harshly, but just considering the kind of role and the operator he was picking, expecting a little bit more inside of that department for that reason.
Also, just when it comes down to consistency at the current moment in the NAL, it's always going to be something that's a little difficult to try and pull off, just given how best of ones end up working out. I mean, it's always going to be a very hotly contested map, and sometimes somebody might just catch you off guard on that map on that given day. So it always makes things very complicated when it comes down to a situation like that. But it is what it is. Obviously, everybody's playing in the same environment, so it still works out at the end of the day, but just something to notate as well when it comes down to consistency in a game like Siege. Is always going to be kind of a difficult thing to pull off. That's why, even like, for instance, last stage, there was some big conversations about the way that the Sonics were banning and stuff like that because of the way that they could push themselves only to like 2 or 3 maps out of the entire map pool. A little bit more difficult to try and pull off with a 9-map pool, but, just showing the homies some love, John. Sometimes you gotta sit down with the homies and you guys just gotta figure out the problems yourself, and that's exactly what XSET and Beastcoast are gonna do. Instead of having Large Tree fix the problem, they're gonna do it themselves, but they're going to do it through the power of friendship.
XSET's just like slowly invading the Beastcoast side of the stage. First it was Kino, and now we have more players sneaking over too. Just sitting on his lap as well. Like, all right.
hey, son, you see this boat
just trying
right
to figure
here?
out what's going on. Okay.
Son, you see this boat right here on eBay? I'm buying it for the summer. like I don't know what's going on, but he's showing him something on the computer or something. I don't know what it serves up to, but either way, I'm just starting to look at just random stuff on this desk. I'm gonna be honest with everybody at home. I'm just like, we got some energy drinks here. We got so many wires. That's got to be a hazard. That's all I'm saying. There's way too much going across that desk at the current moment, and he's got a wireless mouse. So how do you have that many? Anyways,
Headphones?
Well, you guys don't have phones? I'm sorry.
You guys don't have headphones? Yeah, so we're just waiting once again, folks, for this audio issue to get patched up real quick. As you can see, the XSET players are just kind of chilling with Beastcoast right now, so it's probably going to be a few more minutes. We do apologize for that delay to the start of game, but obviously, you can see it in the back there. Our admin squad over at the Vegas Arena is working on getting this rectified as quickly as they possibly can, so we can start this match, as I know you guys want to watch it.
Yeah, well, we promised you guys that we don't have the best stand-up bit, and we're not going to try it, because we're still trying to work it out. So I mean, how have you been feeling about how the NAL's been going so far at this stage? We're coming off the Charlotte Major. Charlotte Major obviously was very, very good for NA. Ended up having 3 out of the 4 teams in the semifinals. I'd say that's pretty nice. And obviously having Astralis versus Dark Zero with DZ coming out on top. Starting off this stage, it's been a pretty unique ride, I'd say, so far, especially with some of the results we've been seeing out of Dark Zero. Yep. I honestly thought they'd be a little bit hotter coming in, but obviously a lot of these teams are able to right quite a few of their wrongs from stage 1 as well, and also get some good insight as to how some of the top dogs are playing.
I think we're in very even territory right now. Probably one of the evenest we've been here in the NAL in terms of who could potentially be inside of that top 4. For me, the way I'm looking at it, there's 6, maybe 7 teams that I could realistically see making it into the top 4 and that are realistically going to have to compete against each other at the end of this stage to be able to stay inside of that top 4, which means obviously we get some great games, and I think that's going to be the way that the stage rolls out here because the teams are so close to each other right now. It's been an absolutely fantastic show so far, and I think that's built up even more so from stage 1, where we had like obviously the surprises with XSET coming in so hot, same for Astralis too. Now teams are starting to learn how to play around them a little bit better, and some of the old guard are getting a lot more competitive against them, so they're starting, you know, obviously we saw SSG like just barely squeak out of being able to make it into the most recent major, so they're going to be looking for revenge in that department, and I feel like it's going to be a very competitive stage for that reason.
Oh, well, thank you for that, John. And, well, guys, we'll tune in next week with our next edition of the Blokes podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe, join the Patreon, and everything else in between. But, folks, that's going to do it for us actually right now. We're going to send you guys to a very quick break, and as soon as we fix this tech problem, we will be back with Bank between Beastcoast and XSET. Do not touch that browser.
I'm back in kitchens with the tray. Windows tinted like how black my skin is. Scoop the shorty in it from a J. Swish, she got vision just like any women giving me the kitten. Way before the riches, nothing more to mention. I could light a block of powder or a glisten. Foreign on my body, that's a Gora linen. I came through dripping Aquafina. I'm 715, kept a weapon on me. Flow make digits, I'm on my business. Stack chicken like what it's gonna be. Crew in the cut, hey, you want us red run when I tell a peace. Love is love. Love is love. Adios. Love is love. Love is love. Adios. Love is love. Love is.
Like glue, the leather stuck on me. I wanna move. And do. Yeah, they all want a piece of me. Everyone in the crowd wanna feel it, they wanna be me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back once again. Huge apologies, of course, from everyone here at the NAL for the delay to the start of this game, but I believe we are just a few moments away from being able to do so now. So welcome back to those who weren't with us when we were ready to start this game. It's XSET going up against Beastcoast, and down to be a pretty close match. XSET obviously still kind of on top of things right now, despite the very close loss they suffered to Parabellum yesterday, and for Beastcoast absolutely shutting down everyone's expectations in their matchup yesterday with a 7-4 regulation victory against SSG on Bank, if I remember correctly as well. They're going to get a chance to return that, as this match will also be played on Bank. It's time to get into it, ladies and gentlemen, and see who will top this out.
It's going to be a pretty fun one, John, as Bank usually is and has been in recent history. Obviously going to be between Beastcoast and XSET, as you were just discussing, as we jump into the ban phase. Be kicking things off here with our first offensive ban coming through, although it's just getting on your guys' screens. Nook will be banned out initially, as we've been seeing her become a pretty hot commodity over the last handful of months, and I mean, you really could say years, honestly. She's just slowly been ramping up. It's kind of been a long burn since her release in Fandom site that we've been seeing people start to adopt her more into lineups, but she's very useful on Bank, and that's why she's going to be removed. Jackal also falls into a very similar category, where he's extremely useful on clearing out the top floor floor and mid floor, especially for those basement setups. Really any info game when it comes to roam games, so Jackal will be removed for the offense.
If you're not sure of the exact position of a player, he can also be very useful for figuring that out, such as if a player is playing from bottom or top blue, things like that. So he can be pretty useful in that scenario, and more so just a bit too annoying for the defense to play around, so he's going to be knocked out by XSET. They'll also take out Azami. She has become our new go-to operator. If we saw her played in week 1, teams had the choice there of either to kind of keep using her and never ban her out, or throw her immediately into the ban pool, and it feels like she's gone into the ban pool. And then, obviously, we had a very interesting final ban there. Smoke is going to be knocked out. Not one we tend to see super often, as it is, to an extent, a bit of a self-handicap, as a lot of teams will also be relying on that Smoke for their insight play. Obviously, though, with Tachanka and a few other operators being added and or changed recently, there are other options, so it's not the end of the world for your delay game having Smoke banned out anymore.
Yeah, for a very long time, Jaeger and Smoke were the two most played defenders when it came to Siege, and nowadays it's definitely Smoke's. Jaeger still gets quite a bit of play, but Smoke seems to be that prio pick and always has been for the defenders, as his utility is always useful. You have Destruction, you have a very solid secondary with that SMG-11 that can practically be used as a primary in most situations, as well as the denial utility that he brings with the Barb or the deployable shield. So he's just overall such a fantastic pick for your defense. So, well, these teams definitely going to be hamstringed by that, but that's opened up a lot of other possibilities. One thing that we do need to touch on, though, before we get too deep into this, is that we won't have any of these teams playing Mira on defense. She is actually competitively banned at the moment because there's a bug with her mirrors. So as soon as that gets patched out, she'll be back into competitive play. Although I don't think we're going to see too much change with the defensive bans. We might obviously see like that Smoke slot getting eaten up by Mira in the recent future. But past that, I don't think her ban rate is going to be as high as we once saw it, even though it had been a couple of years, just because of how the defenses came to be with Azami coming into play.
Yeah, Azami's definitely going to be the preferential ban for most teams looking at her and Mira. So we'll probably see that trend continue over the next few months until the meta starts to shift a bit. Into this round, of course.
Hello.
Surf, not even caring as he leaps out the window and takes the duel versus Spirits. Unfortunately, doesn't account for a second player being on this rappel. So Yog is there, able to immediately exchange it out. And a bit of a misplay here from Sweater. Thinks that the window is potentially going to be clear. Walks right out into the open and into Gomez's crosser, handing over a second kill to XSET now.
Things are already a little sloppy for Beastcoast, but they will be able to take down at least Spirits after we see that high flying jump out the window for the north side. But XSET have recouped very quickly, very aggressively, has been able to take down 2 quick kills, including Surf, who ended up hopping out and practically gifting himself to the secondary XSET player. Beastcoast has slowed things down, though, even though they are on more of an extension. Obviously, we'll have Drip inside of small office here, holding things down when it comes to open area. I believe Kino just saw the barrel of his gun, but he's going to see him outright anyways, and that's going to force Drip back downstairs. The big issue for Beastcoast right now is look at the time. So much time for XSET to not only break up all of these hatches, but to also drone out the locations of these players inside of sight, and they don't really have a lot of denial in that regard. They have a lot of denial in plant denial, but with so much time remaining, this should be a fairly straightforward affair for XSET.
You guys probably caught this, obviously, when it happened, but for those who did not, obviously the one pick we did see Surf able to grab on his window hop out was against the Finka, so a pretty hefty piece of utility now being removed both in the 2 nades that obviously were going to be pocketed there from Spirits, and of course, the Adrenal Surges, which can help to boost up the health pools here from XSET. Hasn't been a whole lot of use cases where they could have potentially used that yet here inside of this round, but as we enter that final minute, I imagine that's going to increase exponentially as they try to scrap their way into security. Kino already going for the initial plant. Where's the resistance from Beastcoast? Well, there it is. Flames going down onto the ground, and there's a heck of a lot more of those in Anthony's pocket if he's going to be given the time to use those. 11 of them, in fact, still to go down on the ground. Well, obviously, they don't last as long as the smoke charges or even the Goyo canisters. If you're able to pepper them in time after time, it is still going to deny that plant capability for XSET.
Well, the good news is that XSET is staying active. You can see the nades starting to pour in on the back end, forcing Drip to make sure that he has to worry about a lot of the potential different areas that we can see the push come through. But we're still going to see it come through the actual hatch. It'll be the Yokai to stop initially, but it'll be a double kill for Yaga on the back end as well. He'll take down Anthony. That's some very big pieces of utility now gone, and now Gomez going hunting as well. A free Drip and potentially a free slash. He'll clean them up both. XSET taking down a multitude of Beastcoast members early on and transitioning that into quite the plan attempt as they body the rest of the Beastcoast defense.
Hot round from Gomez there as well. Excellently done, both with the initial entry to get themselves into security and then obviously the 2 kills to clean up at the end. Got this cross as well on timing to eliminate the second member of Beastcoast, which made the follow-up in the late game a little bit easier for the team too. And obviously this 2K that he picked up also beautifully done, and XSET will now get themselves on the board initially with the first round victory.
Yeah, just a pretty slow round for Beastcoast overall. Just playing a little bit too loosey-goosey and giving it up inside of the early round. XSET is is very strong when it comes to some of those openers and the way that they can obviously manipulate the later part of the round to really give themselves a hot shot at trying to take it over. And that's exactly what we see out of this. Have that solid opener like we were talking about before and able to transition into the later part of the round very, very nicely. But now for XSET, it's back to the drawing board. And same for Beastcoast, as they'll be going to a mid-floor defense here. Staff room, open area. We'll see what they can potentially get done with this. They'll be bringing the castle along for the ride. But what they would really like is the Azami that's been banned out by XSET. She's so strong in this site as she's allowed to fill up a lot of the gaps and angles that teams tend to worry about, especially inside of open area where all those cubicles are soft. So it just makes it to where you can play around that area a little bit easier, but obviously not going to have the benefit of that coming into this round. But they'll still have the castle and everything else in between like we would normally see, including Oryx here, and they'll be able to transition in between all of the different floors that they're going to play.
So Beastcoast going to try and use other bits of utility to set up the same type of mitigation that a zombie would bring to the table, most notably, as you were mentioning, through the castle, as well as the barricades coming out through the laser gates here. So still some ways that XSET can mitigate the play, but it's not going to be anywhere near as effective as the Azami, obviously with her being banned out. Surf's lined up to take this initial duel with XSET moving into clear top square, but as you guys can tell, not going to lead to a whole lot of action between both these players. Just a bullet or two connecting onto either one, and then they back away from it. Spirits, though, still going to get himself onto the rappel and begin prioritize the lockdown of Surf's angle. It'll work pretty well, too. You can see him being denied pretty heftily here, losing half of his HP as he attempts to challenge against Spirits. Might have another opportunity to do so in a moment, but for now, he's had to go for a reposition outside into the elevator hall and then back in towards meeting.
This could be a big issue here for Surf. Already very low on HP. A pre-fire of any sort more than likely takes him down. They're trying to waste time on this top floor, but what they could really get here is some kills, depending on how this breaks down with Sweater on the janitor door. Playing very close, has the SMG-11 in hand to be able to at least trade it out, and that's really all you can do in a situation like that. Slasher's going to get tagged up by Yogg. Great play from XSET off of that stun grenade there, but unfortunately enough, Gomez won't be able to make it out of the thick of it. Practically an equal trade at that moment. You could almost say that Beastcoast is going to win that out just a little bit more, even though XSET do get the map control, just because they lose Gomez here, and having access to the frag grenades, ARX, and that Gemini clone, I mean, that is worth its weight in gold when it comes to the late round. You can get some extra insight. So I'm in an unfortunate situation there, but XSET still with a very serious opportunity to take this round.
Time waste is something of note as well, though it's not going to be too much of a major issue for XSET, given they were still left with about a minute and a half once they'd fully cleared things out from Sweater's position, and that would lead to the rest of the second floor being taken by them as well. Yogg has now used the rest of this time to set up top downs, and he's going to find impact upon it. He's able to knock out Surf through those very same angles. He'll now reposition, as I imagine the rest of the team will, to start making their entry in through break room and probably the back hatch in order to give them site access. Drip will attempt to go for a rotate. A little loud on the barricade down below, but I don't think Spirits was going to be close enough to hear that. However, he still suspects something coming from this main stairs position and is going to be here to counter out Drip's potential push.
Well, stuns now coming through and a drop from Kino, but it's ill-advised. Slash will swat him out of the sky. Drip to go down to Spirits as well. It's a flood of the site. Anthony trying to hold things down behind the cubicle. Obviously has one in tow inside of Kitchen, but it's going to come down to the wire here. DS starts to plan up, and that means they have to respond, and it's a hefty response from Beastcoast as they fire back. All of a sudden, it's all down to Spirits. IGL here has to step up. Sees one inside of the kitchen space, but not able to land the shots onto Slash. I believe some of that broken wall actually holding back some of the angle there and making it to where he couldn't exactly get a bead onto where Slash was shooting him from. Very unfortunate for him in that regard, but still Beastcoast making a grandstand inside of the site after XSET able to get some serious pressure around the open area space.
Yeah, unfortunately for XSET, just nowhere near enough of that pressure that you were talking about there, at least to try and force the hardpoint players that are locked into the counter positions out of those spots and into an area where XSET could have probably been able to execute. Starts out there with that very same hatch drop that led to an immediate death of their players, and building on top of the one-for-one trade that happened at the start of the round. But Jay, things got a little bit worse for wear there for XSET as they tried to work their way in through brute force and ultimately left Spirits with just nowhere near enough room to play out the 1v2, leading to Beastcoast's first rounds. They lock it in an open area. They're going to make a return to the basement now, and they'll bring the same lineup into it, of course. Not really much of a choice in that matter because of Smoke being banned. Could have tried to go the Goyo route with this, but they're going to keep it same with what they had lined up before. Anthony will still bring the Tachanka, and then they'll have the Echo as a backup mitigation.
You know, I really like this, especially just Echo overall as an op. I think he's in still a pretty pretty solid spot in comparison to where he used to be. You know, I think the big thing, obviously, that everyone loves to notate at the current moment is that he's lost his invisibility when it comes to those yokai drones, but that just means that you need to play a little bit more aggressive with them, and it's kind of your placement as well as your ability to use them for reconnaissance for some of your roamers and things along those lines. So, you know, he's lost a little bit of his luster when it comes to the late round because of that lack of invisibility, but it doesn't mean that he can't be played in very similar ways and find success, especially with that MP5 SD, how solid it is with that 1.5 times scope and the suppressor. I mean, we've talked about suppressors time and time again in Siege and how they're not exactly the best thing, but they are solid for one thing and one thing only, and that's pre-firing. You can shoot through as many walls as you want to because there's no tracers, so you're really not going to get punished in the same way. But past that, some more interesting things past suppressor talk. We have Glaz in, one that we don't see too often. He's got some smokes, and also Yana, or rather Osa has some smokes as well inside of her kit, so should be pretty interesting to see how they try and utilize this, especially like this because they've brought the Osa in. She's so strong in a lot of the positions around Bank and quite a few other spots that we've seen in some other maps, so it should be interesting to see how they try and utilize these shields.
Great time waste going on upstairs here for Beastcoast, and an even better shot from Surf to shut out Gomez and once again deny his entry capability for XSET here. The opening kill this time finally not going to be traded as well, so for the first time in this game, Beastcoast will be able to maintain a solid 5v4 advantage and be able to keep it for at least some time here as XSET tries to figure out their next move, having to waste out that first minute and 30 seconds clearing out the second floor, and only just now being able to focus on their basement clear. Might go directly for it though, as I think I saw a couple players stacked up towards the tunnel entry, and indeed I did. Kino is able to line up an entry of his own to knock out Surf, but unfortunately it's short-lived. Slash swings out a moment later, probably from a garage position there, to be able to take him down.
And here's the big issue for XSET now. The entire thing that you built your operator lineup upon is now out the window. Kino can no longer see through these smokes and is going to be down to regular old Siege, really, when it comes down to it. They're going to have to go about this in a very straightforward way. Minus the shields, that's only going to be the real addition to try and hold things back here, but that won't even be able to stem the tide of Beastcoast. Continually, these fire nades get thrown in, and, well, continually XSET find an answer, as apparently Yaga's good for it. He'll take down Sweater as he tries to approach, but for the rest of Beastcoast, they're leaning onto this utility game of Anthony, and it's working out quite well at the current moment. Look at all the damage that they're getting off onto XSET. They're bleeding out, but Spirits, he's able to land his shots using Diaz as a makeshift movable mirror here as they bounce back and forth off the angle.
Diaz run out of HP though, because he's also bleeding out his own HP due to Anthony's incendiaries that are being chucked in from time to time. Slash knows he's low too. You can see him going for the Pokeball right there. Instead ends up taking him out with the gun, finding a second one afterwards to eliminate Yaga as well. XSET ran out of options, tried to brute force it with Yaga deeper into the site, did not work. Now leaving Spirits on his lonesome again inside of a 1v2 here. Just a hot drop in from the hatch and make the best play he possibly can. A headshot presented to him as Slash tries to take the duel. However, Spirits will not be able to land it. In just about 2 seconds here, round's going to close out on timer. Slash ends it anyway with the kill as Beastcoast take the lead with a 2-1 advantage.
Yeah, Slash MVP of that round for sure. I mean, past the utility usage, Slash was there time and time again to not only provide intel off of the yokai drones, but to also confirm a lot of these frags and try and hold back XSET as he pushed for Red Hallway. Massive props to him in that situation, because that's exactly what you want to happen for one of your anchor players. Try and hold back that offense and make sure that they can't try and mess with any of your players that are smoking off the plant spot or anything like that, because they're trying to mitigate that utility. That's exactly what XSET's trying to do there. They're trying to get into the site, get that chunka killed, get this plant down, and force Beastcoast into a really bad situation. So, very strong showing there from Beastcoast, and specifically Slash, like we were talking about. He's 7-1 at the current moment, really holding up Beastcoast on his shoulders.
Definitely the case here. Now with Beastcoast having control over 2 of the sites they've picked into, starting out with the open area pick and now going upstairs, of course, or rather locking in the basement. Now they will go upstairs, trying to take control of a 3rd one before being able to rotate back down into open area with an unlocking on the 5th round coming up next. For XSET, they need to try and find some consistency though, as while they did take that initial basement attack, things have been going a little bit rougher for them, specifically when it comes to the site execute. The opening clear, a little bit hit or miss, but they do tend to get it done with a good amount of time left in the bank. However, struggling to get themselves into the site appropriately over the past 2 rounds. So that's the big focus for them now as we move into the 4th.
We got Kino on Glass again, but we don't have any other smoke, so he's going to have to be completely self-efficient this time around. He's also got the case, which is just, I mean, kind of awkward at this current moment in time, but we'll see. He'll more than likely just move that somewhere, drop it. It'll sit on a balcony for a while XSET tries to fight or something like that. We'll just have to see how it goes down. But for Beastcoast's top floor defense, it's built upon the back of castle barricades and Aruni laser gates trying to prevent out decent amount of XSET's utility, like John was talking about about before. Might go for some high-flying antics here. Sweater is looking for the potential frag with the super shorty. Not exactly a weapon that you want to use all the time, but one in close range that can definitely get some solid damage off. Nades out will try and eat at the castle barricades, but won't work out. Gomez, as you said, trying to play those windows, but only be able to tag up Sweater in this situation.
Yeah, trying to play aggressively on those windows is not the easiest thing to do just because of the fact there's 2 members on it from XSET, so establishing a cross against that player is a very easy task if they're able to figure out where he's playing from. We're going to see Beastcoast probably step away from that as soon as they possibly can. It's actually earlier than expected. Sweater still going to be found out downstairs, however, by Spirits. The opening kill this time will go handily under XSET's control. I believe Spirits is playing that position alone, so there's not going to be room for a trade. Surf, though, feels like he's got a potential one coming up, and I don't necessarily disagree with him, but he's got to be careful of this. Kino popping open the barricades, finds an enemy right on the other side, and has no problem knocking out Surf, but he does have a problem moving out of the window where Slash is now going to be able to pick up the exchange from inside of Jay.
Slash is deadly accurate today. XSET is definitely going to want to keep their head on a swivel. Drip still 0-3 at the current moment, but his number hasn't been called up yet in a certain sense, so we'll see what he can get done a little later on. XSET currently trying to find a way that they can wrap their heads around this site. They've got the man advantage, but they really don't have any control past that. You can see how they're kind of spread out at the current moment, trying to discover where they can actually work their way in. Top square really isn't gifting them all that much. Beastcoast has some very solid angles, and speaking of angles, Drip has been occupying that bookshelf the entire time. He can get rid of these X-Kairos on this castle barricade, but he might not necessarily want to. He might just try and play this out and see if he can potentially allow these members of XSET to swing in the actual window and just kill them outright that way instead. On low time, XSET has to commit to something, so Drip is more than likely just going to play out his life and see if he can potentially use that ERC-7 backpack to try and get his way around some drones.
I think to an extent they would have liked for those X-Kairos to try and bait out the play from Drip, but it's a little too obvious, so he doesn't fall into that, and instead he waits for an opportunity to strike, and he'll get it. Gomez now goes down to him, with the rest of the team trying to push forward. Yaga will find a very quick trade against him as he's locked into the corner, but time is still getting low. Yaga, though, solid as a rock right now. No problem catching the rotate, but Slash just a little bit better inside of this situation. He gets one back against him. The problem being, however, he's low on HP from that last fight, and he's the only one alive, but he's got an opportunity to die the plan. Might be on point, and yes! He gets it! There's no time left. Spirits is nowhere nearby. He can't pick it up in time, so Slash rolls in with a huge clutch from down below.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Look at him, look at him, look at him.
It's a one-man show. It's a one-man show. Slash is standing around a bunch of dummies. He's like, hey, I just need you to be in sight. I need you to just be a little active, okay? I'm going to do everything else. I mean, some incredible shots coming out of this, man. Look at that. All with the SMG-11. That is not an easy gun to use at range. Its initial recoil is not fun to try and control. So landing those shots right now is just so very crucial to what is happening for Beastcoast because nobody else is really lighting up the frag department. I mean, he's not only playing his situational awareness fantastic, but also, if you haven't seen, Slash has mostly been on site dealing with a lot of these situations. That is not easy as a player. When you are the site player inside of Rainbow Six, you have basically got the crap job. I'm just going to tell you right now. It's the worst thing to possibly do because everybody's hounding down on your location. And like you and I were talking about another FPS a couple days ago, it's a very similar situation. There's only minimal spots to sit inside of site, and everybody knows where those are. So you're more than likely going to get swung on or exploded or disintegrated or whatever. I mean, it's just, it's crazy. So the fact that Slash has not only been able to get these tasks done, but also been so successful at rotating off of site and finding, big plays in that way. I mean, he's just on top of his game in the current moment. XSET is going to have to try and do something to make sure that they can mitigate this damage and not let Slash slip through the cracks.
Masterful play from Slash, starting out from the J position and having to get mobile from that point forward too, and it was thrown into the 1v2. Only had to win the 1v1 though to win the round because of the low time. Plant rolling in from XSET. They also struggled to get themselves in position in time, but were still able to find it, thinking they might have had an easy win after knocking Slash out of the area. Unfortunately, was not the case. He had a surprise waiting down below in his utility kit, and is able to swing in a third consecutive round now for Beastcoast by clutching it out there. So that means they're going to go for the rerun here. Only will be able to replicate 2 of the sites. Obviously, since we only have 2 rounds left in the half, but they're going to be able to go back to open room and probably the basement after this to attempt another lockdown here and set up what could become a 5-1 scoreline if everything continues to go swimmingly here for the Beastcoast roster.
So the real question is this the part of the stage where, the wagon wheels just fall off and everything just goes into utter calamity? Because I feel like that's kind of what we're getting towards when it comes to the overarching story of Stage 2. You and I were talking about the NAL just overall before this game started on broadcast, and you kind of talked about how a majority of the teams, you said just around 7, are all hyper competitive at the current moment. And really any of them could make the top 4. And that's really how I'm feeling about a lot of this at the current moment as well. It really feels like it's a dog-eat-dog world. And all of these guys are just trying to fend off these other teams. You know, you have teams coming back like TSM and Sonics. You have Dark Zero, who just came off of a major victory as well. And everybody's still having these hotly contested matches just like we're seeing right now. Beastcoast making a huge stand on the defense at the current moment. I mean, obviously we'd like to see some more action out of some of these other BC members, but there's still pieces of the puzzle. It's just that Slash is playing so well at the current moment.
Yeah, absolutely the case. Definitely room for some of these other players to step up, though, including Surf.
Surf got him, okay.
Who will not only catch Gomez, but be able to avoid the trade from the repelled angle, as at least one player was set up on that position. We'll have to check and see who that is. It's Spirits once again. Indeed, has been there in previous rounds as well. Not going to be able to leash together the exchange against Surf. This was the other member of the team from Beastcoast that we had talked about, bringing a consistent performance to the table when Beastcoast is having a bit of a rougher start to the stage in their Week 1 matches. He's continued to do so, as much as he can at least, inside of these rounds where his other teammates are not able to step up to the plate and really bring that heroic performance to the table that we saw, obviously, from yesterday in Sweater and today in Slash.
Absolutely. Sweater, Nitro, so I believe this is just a pre-place here. I'll wait on the arrival of XSET and try and more than likely explode Yaga as he enters stock. We'll see how this goes a little later on, though. For the rest of XSET, they're working around lobby and starting to come down into E2. Kino is currently at top square, so a little split in a certain sense, but Kino can rotate to really whatever they want to go for. Usually we see teams try and go for kitchen a lot of the times, especially when they have kind of the thermite build-up. They'll want to try and get the kitchen wall, either get the plant right inside the wall or over behind the kitchen island thing. There's like this really, really long table over there. So we'll have to see what they want to do. Might just plan on that kitchen counter or whatever the sort, but again, we'll have to see, because XSET is indeed continually trying to work this side. Yaga's actually going to drop out towards the printer window, I do believe, and he tries to work his way in, but Kino is actually going to die inside of the electrical room. It's a nice swing here from Beastcoast, great prediction, and now they have case control as well. It's a 4 versus 3. Yaga almost getting swung on there from one of the players actually occupying that space at the current moment. A stun grenade in. Yaga's just trying to hold the cross and seeing if he could potentially get any aggression out of this player, and he will. Surf will give up his location, and now XSET have somehow negotiated for a 3 versus 3, but with 15 seconds left, XSET have to push hard, and they're doing it successfully as well. Slash and Drip both die. It's down to Sweater, and now he's going to have to try and manipulate this round at all, and it's not really going to happen. XSET are actually going to end up taking that. Very awkward situation there for all of Beastcoast, as it seems like they have a lot of the gates shut, but XSET still waltz in.
Hard to catch some of the moment-to-moment action, but might have been a situation where Beastcoast just get a little bit too ahead of themselves and try to take a few extra fights that they necessarily did not need to, such as the aggression inside of Electrical here from Surf going down. You see 2 to 3 other players kind of getting caught out in the open or just unaware of a flank coming out against them, like we just saw one there on the replay coming in from the kitchen window while he was still trying to look through the breaches next to it. So a lot of situations there where Beastcoast just a little unfamiliar with where the play was going to be coming from. We can even look back at that pre-placed Nitro that Slash or another member of Beastcoast had thrown out into stock that ultimately was like leading into nothing, because we didn't even see the barricades get broken by XSET at any point in that round. So just a lot of informational misplay, I think, for Beastcoast in that last one there.
I completely got to agree with you there. They're probably going to go back to the drawing board and see what they can get done, and that's going to include going downstairs. I really like this adjustment here. Slash played extremely well off of this site, and it seems like they have a very good understanding of the way that their utility game should go here. So for XSET, they've obviously struggled with that a decent bit. They won't have the Osa shield this time around, and they won't be going for the glass setup. Kino will be back onto the thermite here, so he'll be going for double hard breach. Yaga will more than likely have stuns, I'm assuming, and he will. So we're going to have 4 nades, 6 stuns, a couple of smokes just for funsies here. Kino more than likely will use those to burn, as they're not exactly the best thing when it comes to this site, because a lot of teams are starting to bring Maestro back in. This has been a thing for the downstairs site and Bank for I don't even know how long, since Maestro got introduced practically, all because you can see through smokes. It just makes it a lot easier. You can also obviously laser the planter as well if you want to be that risky with your Evil Eyes, but it really just depends. So going to make it a little bit difficult for XSET in that regard, but obviously also more than likely to be used up and burned.
Surf going to be roaming out and about over here on the front lobby balcony once again. Unfortunately, things are not going to start out too well, at least for Sweater, as he'll find himself picked somewhere closer to square. Surf also tries to take the duel for the trade and ends up paying the price for it as he's forced back as well. XSET will take full top control, now begin to work their way down.
Yes, indeed. This mid control is a lot more important than top control. It'll allow them to get the hatches and also lock up the staircases around the building, making it to where Beastcoast can't exactly rotate in the way that they want to. No big plays coming out of Slash getting off site or anything like that. So they'll be using the Gemini clone to make sure that all of these different cubicles and things are clear. Find out that the small office hatch is open as well. So Spirits is going to hold main. More than likely have another XSET member just play around top square or something along those lines just to make sure that nobody tries to rotate up blue. But Kino's quickly getting a hold of server as well, so they won't have to worry about that. Obviously, as you saw, Yaga also pre-firing the small desk. Just want to make sure that nobody is creeping around like we saw yesterday with Merc upstairs on Oryx.
Quick opening of all three hatches. More likely going to be rolling in here to the Habana play. Kino, of course, already pre-set in position down by server to try and see if he can get lucky and maybe get a few pre-fires going against the members of Beast Coast. Haven't been able to make the stars align just yet, but here's an opportunity, and he'll sink it. Says bye-bye to Slash. No clutches this time for him. However, Kino will be unable to assist in clutching out the rest of this round for XSET as he'll get traded by Surf.
Oh, very unfortunate timing for Spirits. He thought he was going to be able to work into the garage without getting detected, throw the grenade, and hopefully there's like, oh, the camera's gone.
Oh, here we go, though.
Somebody there, but unfortunately enough, XSET once again flood the site, and Beast Coast, they're not prepared. Two quick bodies for Yaga, trying to catch a third as Surf is moving back and forth inside of Gold Vault, but it's Diaz Lucas instead to confirm the 3-3. XSET bring it back after the timeout.
It's always the elevator play that gets them. You notice that?
Yeah.
That happened yesterday's game, too.
It's always the elevator
always
play
the elevator
in any
play.
bank game, my friend. It always is. I don't know what it is about
I remember like Kag did that to Liquid during SI, if I remember correctly.
I mean, I just want to remind everybody, Laxton's been getting away with this stuff for years. Literal years, man. I mean, there's just something about the elevators. For some reason, everyone's
like as soon as you get past 30 seconds of the round, everyone's like, nah, they're not going to push that.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's always like, oh, there's no way this person's still playing elevator. No, I promise you, they are still playing elevator. They are still playing elevator. Did you drone elevator? No. Did I drone elevator? No. Then there might be somebody in elevator.
So, once again, a little bit of a misstep there for Beast Coast at the end of the half. It's going to cost them one, and XSET comes back into it with a booming 3-3 scoreline. At one point, this could have very easily ended up going 5-1 in the favor of Beast Coast, but no longer the case. XSET has been able to turn their fate around, and now they have a chance to do so even more, of course, as obviously we've switched sides now. XSET on the defense, going to start things out with an open area play here against Beast Coast's own opening round on the attack. Nothing crazy coming out for Beast Coast operator lineup, and you could say very much the same thing for the XSET players too. Just a little bit of a wrinkle in Gomez's pick, bringing in the Legion, but it's absolutely perfectly fine for this site pick.
Yeah, I really like this this setup here from XSET because I really can't think of a better way to explain this to everybody at home. It's just annoying. It's just an annoying setup. You have Malusi, you have Legion, you have Mute Jammers to get in the way of your droning, you have the Prismas from Spirits. This is all built up to be hyper active for XSET. That's their style of play. That's what they want. Everybody on this team is willing and able to take gunfights, and they want to try and build off of that. So I really like the overall strategy here from XSET. I hope it pays off for them, because obviously Beast Coast are going to have access to one of the most abusable parts of the map, which is those northern windows to try and clear out a lot of this top hole. But we'll have to see if XSET can potentially fight back. Quite a bit of utility up here and some long angles to deal with.
Surf with the intel for a player on the other side of the map.
Did you see that recoil control from Surf? That was disgusting with the C8.
Very impressive stuff. Unfortunately, it leads to nothing as there's too much wall in the way. So XSET is not going to be taking any serious damage from that. Gomez patiently waiting here. He does have the correct read on this situation. There is a player just outside of that window waiting to rappel back in, but unfortunately not going to have the right timing about this. Needs to wait for the moment of the swing to be able to catch these players, and it's not going to show up anytime soon here from the looks of things, although they definitely probably want to get some players on the inside here to support Surf's position sooner rather than later, as we're approaching the halfway mark on the round now.
And Beast Coast have been taking their sweet time, trying to figure out exactly how this thing ticks before they work their way in. K still on the roof. B-Drip's job to pick that up as he'll hop over towards the stock balcony. Spirits will continue to hold on to Checkers upstairs, and why wouldn't he? Beast Coast has not made a single move, and if anything, they've been delaying so much time on him, and Spirits has got it all the way down to a singular minute, and he still has over 50% of his HP, so probably happy as a clam, laughing his way to the bank with all of this time over inside of Checkers at the current moment. He'll be laughing straight to his deathbed as well, as Slash will finally take him down, but what's a life when you get 2 minutes for it in Siege?
Yeah, pretty much. A lot still needing to be done here for the Beast Coast Beastcoast roster. If they can get a quick clearance of some of the areas closer to the middle of the map, such as tellers and whatnot, this is still workable for them. But if not, if they continue to struggle in clearing things out, this is going to be a rough take at a minimum, as they have not had time, appropriate amount of time at least, to be able to drone out what's going on the first floor. They probably won't be aware of this basement flank, which is being lined up by XSET. A lot of wrinkles that need to be smoothed out here, and only 35 seconds to get this shirt ready for the show. Let's see if Beastcoast can do it, as they're starting to make their descent now.
Well, I hope Beastcoast brought their steamers, because I think this one's going to have to be pretty spicy in order to get in here. Kino, rest of XSET prepared, ready, set for war. Gomez, what an angle here for him. Able to occupy the entirety of this line and bounce back and forth off of the actual bomb chassis as well. But it's Anthony that actually deals some killing blows, and it's all down to Yogg on the flank, but it's too little, too late. Some serious damage off the surf, but he doesn't know where this plant's going down, and not only that, he doesn't have a line for it either. Beastcoast looking like XSET with some of these kills that they've been able to get on the entry, but now Yogg making mincemeat of XSET at the current moment. It's a 1 versus 2. Has one in the corner. Make it a 1 versus 1. Has the flank, the game sense. Oh, and the kill! Anthony, eat your heart out. It's a quad kill for the boy. XSET on top.
Massive play from XSET, and that's going to hand them the lead off of the very first round of the second half. Also will trigger an immediate timeout from Beastcoast, and I can understand that perfectly. After a play like that, you need to take a moment to figure out what the heck just happened.
Oh my goodness, had to get my feet under me there for a moment. As soon as I had the realization of, oh my God, Yogg could do this. I mean, what a shot from him. And not only that, but the sense here, John. There's no info for him in this situation.
He read every single one of those perfectly.
He read every single one of them there. The game sense on this kid is insane.
I want to say every single one of those, maybe -1, but I'm pretty sure every single one of those was a headshot.
Yes. All of them.
Absolutely crazy stuff coming out there.
Disgusting. I am grossed out by that situation. I have to go take a shower. I feel filthy at the current moment, watching what we just watched.
Well, Beastcoast thankfully are not too far behind in this game at this point. We started this at a 3-3, so they can rebound quite quickly, but after a play like that, they might need a few rounds to get their feet back down on the ground as they were launched into the air by that clutch coming out there.
And that's my question. What is the timeout for Beastcoast? Hey, don't let Yaga do that. Like, I think the big issue right now, the thing that they actually really need to talk about is the 4 people sitting around Slashrock at the current moment. Nobody's really able to push back in the same way that he is at the time. We've been seeing some things out of Surf. We've been seeing some signs of life now that they've gotten some more rounds under their belt. But overall, it's still really been the Slash show in a lot of different ways. Obviously, the offense changing things up just a little bit. But, I mean, still, look at these numbers. 12-4 for Slash. And by the way, that's only 1 round into their offensive side. So, you know, you really want to see some of these Beast Coast members just do a little bit more heavy lifting. We'll see how they do as they try and take control of the basement this time around.
XSET going to try and make things a bit more difficult for their opponents as they'll bring the castle barricades in to try and muck up the rotates a bit, give that little bit of an inch of extra room to XSET in terms of map control, especially at the beginning first 2 minutes of this round. It's going to give them that extra time to play around the advances from Beastcoast and maybe allow for them to get an opening kill in their favor too. If they can bring it down to a 5v4, even better a 5v3, and then pull everybody back into the basement bunker, that's going to be an easy closeout for them, as Beastcoast more than likely just won't have enough manpower to spread out the attack to take down the setup.
Okay, well, Beast Coast have to go for the clear here on this top floor. They'll begin their ascension of the northern side of the building. Anthony will go to the roof. Slash will continue to occupy the windows and drone out this top floor. But as we can see, there's a couple of people home, but they're pretty easily removable at the current moment as they can both back off towards this white stairwell. Spirits will quickly hop down, but he's going to take a few shots from Slash before doing so. So definitely be wishing that he had a Thunderbird around, obviously, as he could heal himself back up, but just not working into the cards for this strategy. Sweater finding a beautiful angle here through tellers. He might just sit around this area just because he has so much oversight as to the rotations that happen on this floor. This door right here, right inside of the elevator hallway, so much foot traffic when it comes down to it. A lot of people trying to rotate for this stairwell, but he's also got Yaga to his side as well. So a lot of ways that this could potentially be mismanaged by both sides.
Sweater still waiting for this play to come back out from the inside of XSET's hold there. Over by open. It's not going to lead into a whole lot of damage against Sweater. Obviously, he's got the adrenal surge to boost him back up, but As far as Sweater's concerned, he still needs to find a way to battle out from this position or try to set his teammates up to take these players down. Has information to play on this as well, but there's just so much setup from XSET in the surrounding area here. It's not going to be easy for Sweater or really anyone on Beast Coast to make this play happen, and this could just delay them down to way too low of a time to where they can actually make the assault on the basement. Beast Coast need to come up with something quickly here as XSET's set up an open area is just wasting all this time away from Beast Coast Bank. Finally, though, they're going to start to pierce through it as Spirits will be caught out by Drip.
I was going to say, just as a reminder, Beast Coast hit some serious entries on that last time, clearing out this exact floor, and now it's starting to work its way in yet again. Beast Coast with some big kills in the team, starting to work their way through the building. Surf has been a menace on this offensive side. Diaz, he's looking for the freebie. Oh, that might have been so ill-advised. We'll have to see. Definitely know that Diaz is playing around red hallway now, either way you slice it. So has that Nitro cell to be able to try and prevent, but he's asking for the stars to align at the current moment.
Definitely looking like a quick turnaround for Beast Coast at the end of the day, though, unless Diaz can come out with an absolutely incredible play like we saw from Yaga in the last round here. They just need to isolate him out inside of Red Hull, take him down. The plan as well, no way that Diaz is going to be able to stop that, even with the Nitro sitting in his pocket here, just can't get to an appropriate angle to chuck that out, so the plant goes down. He is locked in gold bars, just hoping for an overzealous play. He's going to be able to catch at least one of them. Slash goes down to start it inside of the 1v5 here for Diaz, but he's got a long way to go. Only about 20 seconds to complete it and get himself on the counter defuse as well. Rotate towards lockers, can't read into it, gets caught out in the open here, and surprisingly has not been taken down yet, but there we go. Sweater finally gets the confidence to swing out and take the fight, and he'll end it for Beast Coast.
Offensive side looking a lot cleaner from Beast Coast. I mean, Slash might have drained his battery on the defensive end, but he's gotten him here, and the good news is now they're starting to fight back. They're tied up with XSET, and they have a very big potential to actually take this game as well, building upon what we'd seen from Slash previously with those big numbers on his defensive side. And even with that being said, if Slash starts to hit some crucial shots on this offensive side as well, it could be easy coasting for Beast Coast at the end of the day and just quickly glide on to that 7th round. But XSET, I'm going to try and find the answer now. They're headed upstairs here as Beast Coast have been so strong at full clearing this building, forcing XSET back downstairs and then dealing so much damage to them on their execute. It'll make your head spin practically. XSET never really able to just try and come out of discombobulation, and that's really been the big problem for the defenses so far. Obviously, the big thing past that is Yaga's amazing frags that we saw inside of that 1v3 clutch, but past that, I mean, XSET really did get bodied in that round. It was just Yaga that ended up saving them at the end of the day. 16-4-1, by the way. Him and Slash having one right now.
Absolutely incredible performances. It's kind of been the tail of the tape for a lot of our XSET games. It's just been like 1 or 2 players going absolutely crazy.
Yeah, Spirits with 21 last week,
and
Yaga with 16 right now.
It's become a bit of a trend, and then obviously Beast Coast yesterday had Sweater go off with the cat ears on too. So.
Don't forget the collar.
Yeah. I can't forget it. But we'll see now.
It's burned into my inner cornea. How could I ever forget?
You might want to put it back on though, with the way things are going for him in this game. Slash obviously picking up a lot of the slack there, and Surf helping out too. But overall, team still doing fantastic in this matchup. We just saw Sweater have himself a ball of a match in yesterday's game there. So just going to be using a 4-pack of the X-Kairos charges here to knock out the 2 castle barricades on Banana. Spirits will be unable to aggressively peek that, or rather he can aggressively peek that, but more than likely will get immediately shut down if he attempts to do so because of Beast Coast establishing Overwatch on their repelled angles. Yaga will get an opportunity, but Sweater through the keyhole knocks out Yaga on the way back over towards the elevators. Beautifully shot out here by Beast Coast. They're going to get the entry once again.
Anybody got any thread? That was, oh my gosh, that was... Oh, wow. Either way, Beast Coast with a very nice open there onto Yogg, of all players. Definitely the one you want to lop his head off first if you're looking to take a round away from XSET. But obviously, as we've been talking about XSET pretty highly throughout this game, even though the score line makes it differ a little bit at the current moment, XSET is not a team that you can exactly take calmly. They're all looking to try and take gunfights and dominate in a certain sense, but kind of hard to dominate when there's frag grenades flying at your face from an undisclosed location, and that's going to be able to take out Spirits. And now the entire back end of XSET setup has been decimated, including the elevator wall. This is going to lock up Diaz here, and he's got to be worried that somebody could potentially be playing that angle. You can see how much of XSET is drawn over towards this portion of the map, and Beast Coast still have so much time. They're drawing things out, they're discovering more about XSET's defensive positioning, and they're trying to figure out exactly where they can go to apply even more pressure.
Smart play here from Beastcoast too, and realizing XSET will usually want the fight, despite the fact that they're down to their anchors at this point here. Gomez, you're going to see, finally peeks out. He takes nearly most of his health away from that. Kino tries to rush out and re-challenge Surf, but while this is going on, Drip's been able to swing in, open up a basically free plant opportunity because no one on the defense is able to fend it off from Jay. They'll start to do so, but the trades also immediately begin to roll in from Surf. He knocks out Gomez. One other member of the Beast Coast roster did go down, and it was the Finka, meaning no mid-fight boost-ups here, but Surf, surprising as he rolls around the corner, knock one out with the skeleton key, and one more as well, switching over to the actual rifle. Well played again by the individual players here, as they're constantly surprising with these round victories as Surf shows up this time around.
What an amazing round there from Beast Coast. I really like how they're using XSET's aggression against them. You can see how Beast Coast are set up around the outside of the building, and they're waiting for XSET to make a big mistake. The first mistake being Yaga's swing inside of E3. Yes, it's something that we see very often, but obviously the kill doesn't go his way. It happens sometimes. It's how it is, but it's something we got to talk about because that's where it all starts for Beast Coast. They get that big kill, and obviously that's going to give up lobby and make it to where Finka can play around that a little bit easier. And then we see a crazy grenade fly into Checkers and take out that player as well. And that just opens the floodgates for Beast Coast. They can take their time, they can use the extra drones that they have, and they can make sure that they try and force XSET into a very, very terrible situation. And that's exactly what they did. They forced that plant down, and Surf plays off of it masterfully. As right when that plant goes down, what does he do? He pushes into Janitor at the same time. Everybody's distracted. He knows that. He's going to get the kill inside of Janitor and then also play out the entire situation from off-site when every other Beast Coast member is on oversight on the north windows or is laying under a desk or under a window somewhere playing incredibly safe. So it was extremely well done from Beast Coast to let XSET kind of fall to their own devices inside of that round. It's going to have to be up to XSET to just let Beast Coast sit on this timer. Don't overpeak things. Try and force them to come to you before they're allowed to try and get some of these picks just way too early into the round.
Here's the only problem for Beast Coast, but it does rely on XSET changing up their playstyles. XSET can fix this by just cooling off a little bit, play a little less aggressive, don't go in for so many of those aggressive peaks, as unfortunately it's leading to a lot of deaths. If that happens, Beast Coast are going to be set up on these angles and waste a heck of a lot of time trying to wait for these opportunities to come out against them. That ultimately will never end up happening if XSET adjust their playstyle appropriately. Problem is, that's not the way they play this game, so it's going to be pretty hard for them to kind of suddenly change that up on a dime.
Yeah, I think the big thing is like the easiest way to potentially push this, or rather put this, is...
That's better.
That's a great play right there. Funny enough, that's exactly the opposite of what I was going to be going with kind of the analogy I was going to say. It's kind of like the dollar on the end of the fishing pole I was going to say. You kind of just shake it out in front of XSET, they go for a swing, and you try and get the kill off of that. But it happens in a different sense here this time around. Sweater, the one being very aggressive down low, and XSET ready for it. He'd been playing around the ATM space time and time again. They knew that he was more than likely going to try and have influence from that angle, and he did. And well, he was ready. Yaga goes for the immediate flank and able to get the kill on Spirits, also with one of his own. But look at the timer here. They've allowed Beast Coast to actually work into the building this time, John. And XSET has been able to capitalize off of that with two very big, very quick kills.
Yep, XSET, instead of cooling things off in their aggression, in fact, they double down on it, try to find members of the squad for Beast Coast that are going to be isolated and easy to be picked from these more aggressive swings. And so far, they've done a fantastic job of just picking them off and then disappearing into the hallways here, as we've seen both Drip as well as Sweater go down. Your hard breach as well as the Finka. Slash is going to be able to get some revenge here as he sneaks up against Gomez and opens up the blue stairs route for the two members holding top square. But that's only the beginning of this comeback here. A lot more work still need to be done from Beast Coast, and they're still down a player, and they still got Spirits up on the second floor harassing them, which has Overwatch in the case right now. That could very easily lead them into a second kill here. However, I do believe Surf is aware of it. That doesn't mean he's going to win the fight outright, though. Spirits catches the slam of the hammer, opening up the wall. He's going to adjust and now shut down Surf, meaning another player has to suddenly go upstairs and try to retrieve the case. And keep in mind, Spirits has Overwatch on all of these angles right now.
This has been a big issue for Beast Coast, where it starts getting a little disjointed whenever they reach a low man count. They start trying to swing in from very solo angles, and it just allows players like Spirits to clean things up like that. Because we're not playing together and we're not swinging things together, and therefore we will die. XSET fall to, well, nothing, as they are able to take it over from Beast Coast and claim the lead yet again here, or rather tie things up, as it will be a 5-5 score line. Beast Coast, Well, trying to go for a pretty aggressive opener, but XSET ready for this one. I think the big thing that we saw, the difference between the previous round and this round, was Beastcoast entered the building and went quite deep right off rip with a lot of their entries and didn't really have a way to either have a lifeline or have a salvaging, time frame to be able to try and get something out of that situation. So it was kind of like trying to pull blood from a stone in that situation. So you just throw the fake down there, really nothing to come from it. Even if he does get that kill, Yaga more than likely trades it. So you'd more than likely want something else going on in that situation, right? Because it is your Finka. So just a little bit unfortunate in that regard, but obviously it's something that Beastcoast can right. So we'll have to see what they can do with these last couple of rounds here. XSET have definitely found their answer for some of the more aggressive tendencies from Beastcoast, but now the shoe is on the other foot. Let's see what BC can potentially do.
Spirits finally coming alive in that round as well, been a little more quiet throughout this game. Obviously, he's had his moments, but really getting himself into a good position with the quad kill. I believe he was able to pick up over the course of that round there. Obviously, a little bit of misplayed from Beastcoast in terms of how they approached eliminating him, just kind of peeking in one by one there. So setting up those 1v1s is quite an easy task for Spirits to shut those down individually, but now things are going to be a little bit harder for him, playing in the same position here inside of the upstairs site by CEO. Immediately has at least 2 players bearing down against him, so he's going to have to back up into the relative safety of the banana room.
Except going to be delaying things out for some time. Yaga taking quite a bit of damage from, I believe, the skeleton key of Surf as of right now. He's going to fall back over towards Marble. Worried about the skylight. Doesn't have to worry about that too much, obviously, from RPOF, but definitely something you want to just look at when you're operating around that stairwell. Never know when somebody's going to be sitting in your sights. A nice little pre-fire there, but Spirits, he's already got quite a bit of damage dealt to him inside of this first minute, so definitely not the same situation that we saw as last, but he's going to continue to go hunting. He'll use the dash of Oryx to be able to get out of checkers, and he also still has Yaga around the area to be able to try and assist him in a certain sense. Surf, almost dead there, but Anthony, fortunately enough, is actually in the area. He'll take down Gomez as he tries to rotate up square.
Starting to fall behind a little bit in this situation here. Lots of chip damage being done by Beastcoast as well, and now a second kill found by Sweater to eliminate Spirits and stop him from running all around the map and causing some massive issues in the late round if he were to try and hop back up onto the second floor. Yaga's going to try and make his own safe transition down through the main stairs. He has made it to the stairs, so he's relatively safe here, but has a few more drones to knock out. Unfortunately, he's continuing to lose more and more player count as well. Drip now finds another entry for Beastcoast here, eliminating a third member of XSET and leaving them with just Yaga and Kino's position elsewhere on this map right now. Surf's going to be able to line himself up in a fairly easy push into security, as it's going to be uncontested as far as I can tell at this point. Just needs to move Drip over there to be able to line up the plan.
Have a minute left, so it should be a fairly straightforward affair from this point onwards. Still have some drones to try and discover the location of these XSET members if they so choose, but it can practically just play it out right from the hip off this one with this 5v2 situation. But still going to continue the drones here. They know one's around the main stairwell, so Yaga will more than likely be called out, and they'll try and see if he's occupying these angles. And he is at the current moment. Yaga firing back and forth with the members of Beastcoast, but hasn't been able to procure himself a kill just yet. Beastcoast is going to be setting up for the backdrop as well as they're trying to pressure all of the angles at once. A big swing here and a grenade in. Kino will be able to take down Anthony. The nade will land, but won't be able to land on anybody of significance. Just a few bodies laying around the red hallway. And speaking of bodies in the red hallway, Sweater's going to make it look a little bit more bloody. Fantastic round there from Beastcoast as they swamp the defense.
Yeah, Sweater is tired of waiting for the members of XSET to peek out there, just takes the initiative himself, leaps in through the back hatch again, and is able to find a path forward to knock out both of those red hall players. Beastcoast are going to be able to win the race to get the 6 points first, but unfortunately XSET is right behind them at the moment, so they only have this one round, this single opportunity to shut down the match in regulation and get the full 3 points that would come with that. Given the losses that Beastcoast faced earlier in the stage, they would certainly like to take this win. That would compound very, very well given the fact that they also got a regulation victory yesterday versus Space Station Gaming, so a total of 6 points on the week if they can end this here and now. If not, they're looking at a maximum of 2, obviously, by beating XSET in overtime, and that still assumes that that will happen, of course.
Absolutely. Yaga having a heck of a game. It's hard to not talk about this at the current moment with just how he's been playing and how successful he has been on both sides of the coin. You know, Slash slowing down quite a bit when it comes to the offensive side, but I mean, Kino making the most, or rather Yaga making the most of a multitude of different situations for himself and really able to get XSET at least farther down the path. But the big issue now is that they stand one round away from losing inside of regulation to Beastcoast. This is not something that exactly, I would assume anybody at home thought was going to happen. But the big thing is that Beastcoast is playing extremely well, and they're playing better than XSET on the offensive side at the current moment. They've been able to throw a lot of different looks at XSET, and it's made things quite difficult, especially for how XSET traditionally plays with some of their picking methods and stuff like that. So it's been pretty damning for them overall, especially with some of the positionings rather from Spirits, as he's been able to hit his mark a couple of times inside of the rounds, but past that, it's been Beastcoast able to seriously damage him and either force him back or get a big pick early on and take control through that method. So we'll see what Beastcoast can do as of now. The drone game up and spinning, and are they looking to commit themselves to this top floor yet again?
Find out over the next few moments here with Beastcoast taking control of the roof, at least just to establish those opening angles for themselves, such as pop it open, of course, the square hatches, the side stuck hatches, and then being able to open things up through the skylight windows too for some potential play there. Pretty rarely we see a kill happen from that top point position, but it does sneak itself in from time to time. Members of Beastcoast, though, still need to worry about clearing out the interior of this site. They'll find out that Spirits with that drone there is going to still be playing from his checkers position, so we'll need to deal with that as they've done so in the previous rounds. On the previous round, they didn't seem to struggle with it too much. In fact, they knocked him out before he was able to successfully retreat into the basement, which was the site being played there. However, his position now has a much more increased amount of importance, considering that they've gone for the teller's hold this time.
Some drone bodies as well as some nitro cells now down in a very similar situation to what we'd seen yesterday on Bank, as the plant's going down inside of Archives, not happening nearly as fast, but still a very similar situation in Beastcoast. They've worked their way in behind XSET, and now they have to try and retake into their own site. They don't even know the angles that are being occupied by Beastcoast at the current moment. They'll be able to at least get a couple of kills here, be a triple for Slash, but now it's down to Kino and Spirits.
Kino. Such a good opportunity there to take out the player crossing by the main door inside of Archives, but it's been missed. That would equalize it down into a 2v2. They fail to account for Surf's position, but Spirits with a beautiful shot keeps the hopes of XSET alive. He's got to win it out from this point forward. Tries to pre-fire for the other side of Tellers, but it's a long shot that leads into nothing ultimately. Has to find this corner shot instead, and he'll get it against Slash. Now it's Surf versus Spirits for the clutch. However, unfortunately for Spirits, already out of time. Not going to be able to get the counter defuse going. The timer ends, and Surf even gets the kill. So Beastcoast clutch it out, subvert the expectations of the desk, the casters, the audience once again, and take yet another victory for themselves here today and inside of regulation. So they are getting a massive point boost this week, 6 overall between today's game here versus XSET and yesterday's against Space Station.
Yeah, the whole strategy worked out on both sides of the coin. Very well done from Beastcoast. Really like what we saw, not only the defensive end, but the offensive end. You know, the defense, a little sloppy, I'll definitely say that, but Slashug making up for a lot of their shortcomings when it came down to that. But the offensive end, that's really where we saw Beastcoast come together as a team and show XSET what they're capable of, and it's destruction at the end of the day. XSET not able to hold a candle to the fragging potential of the BC squad, which is something I didn't think I was going to be saying at the end of the day, but it's definitely how we saw that break down. So some unfortunate circumstances for XSET, but Beastcoast playing a heck of a game.
There's really great reads overall coming in for Beastcoast on that attacking side, as you were mentioning. Catches the playstyle from XSET perfectly, starts to abuse it, starts to wait for those little more aggressive peaks where they try to peek out, grab a headshot or two. Instead, it's Beastcoast taking those players down and being able to knock them out. Other things like that transpiring as well, all leading into a successful game here today on that second half for Beastcoast, and allowing them, of course, to take it at the very end of regulation. 7-5 in their favor. That closes out our first game, ladies and gentlemen. Stick with us, though, as we have the analyst desk coming up in just a second to break this game down.
really happening? My mind explodes. I can feel my bones shaking to the beat of my bleeding heart. An overload. Don't know how this goes, but I'm pretty sure you just made my world stop. I can't believe my eyes when I get close to you, close to you, close to you. So pretty I could die. I can't be close to you, close to you, close to you, close to you.
Well, we got there eventually. That's right. First map in the books today here at the Rainbow Six NAL. Doa, Jesse, Jacob here back with you at the desk, and Beastcoast got it done. They did it. We were wondering, we were saying, like, Berlin and the Beast, are they going to stay in the hunt for the major in Europe at the end of this stage? And that was a pretty convincing win over XSET, wasn't it?
Yeah, because that now catapults them up, technically, even though we've only played one game today, so this will change,
Sure,
up into 5th place with 3 points. That's a huge jump all the way down from 9th, given the way that the stage is currently unfolding. But look at this, dude. We gave Sweater all the credit in the world for yesterday, which is deserved, but look at how Slash performed, man.
Slash 16 and 7, more than a 2.0 KD ratio. That's pretty insane. The other guy I want to highlight is Yaga, and it's unfortunately not going to be a positive stat. Although he got 17 kills, he was up like crazy, like 12 kills after his 1v4 clutch. Didn't find very many in that second half. So unfortunate for him, despite the high stat line, it didn't continue through the end of the game, and XSET fell off a little bit towards the end of Bank. But well done on Beastcoast.
Yeah, that's right. Meanwhile, over on the XSET side, things are a little bit rougher here. And I'm kind of wondering, like, Jacob, in your opinion, like, where is it that things are going wrong for XSET right now?
Genuinely, it might be that they're falling back on old habits and things that are very telegraphed to their opponents. If we're talking specifically about their weaknesses here, it's the roam game. It was read perfectly almost every round by Beastcoast. Wherever Beastcoast managed to get a plant off, they won an attack round. The only time it didn't happen was the one time they didn't effectively roam clear, but every other time, Beastcoast know exactly where XSET is going to be playing or have a general idea about where these super aggressive roamers are going to play. XSET loves their retakes. They love being able to try to get back in as fast as, like, to the side as possible, but Beastcoast were reading into it beautifully today.
Well, and you know what helps you adapt in the heat of the moment when it seems like another team has a good counter strat for you?
Huh.
Yeah, a coach behind you.
That's true.
That's true.
Unfortunately, again, do not have that right now. And that might not be what the source is, but it is certainly a factor to think about when you look at XSET now versus XSET last stage or even, a week ago, right? Well, let's move into some specific rounds. Let's take a look first at round number 4. Now, this was one where Slash kind of saved the day, and this is one that we're going to have our own Jesse Chick go and telestrate for us as well. So that's going to be a special occasion. Always fun to see the actual visual breakdown. Go over there. Get over there. Step over to the telestration.
Let's take a walk over, because the other day when Beastcoast took down Space Station, we didn't have a telestrated round for them. So this one's for you, Rams. This is a great round that we have in round number 4. And just before we start off, I want to show you something. Take a look at the grenade play already coming forward from XSET. They've got 2 nades left alive, and they've still got 3 flashbangs down over here. Now, unfortunately, they're not going to use them, but there are some great opportunities. Since these are both window players that have the grenades, they could potentially take down Drip. The other one being Yaga, who can walk down. They could clear out Drip in this position, which they might have an idea that he's there already, with those nades, rather than just swinging in. The other thing that's going to become super important later is there is a bulletproof camera right here in the B bomb site that is going to stay up for the entirety of the round. Now, they're not going to be able to clear that because they don't have because they don't throw those nades in. There are magnets, but unfortunately, because they have still some flashbangs, they could clear those magnets if there are any available. So we'll press play now, and we'll see how the round goes through. Gomez swings in. You see there's the first mistake with Drip not being able to get cleared out with a nade. He will get traded here, and you may think that the lack of nade usage doesn't matter, because XSET's going to get a couple of kills. They're going to start trading things out. They manage to take down Drip. They get a nice kill as well, and it's all going to be on to Slash in the 1v3. Or in the 1v2, excuse me. But this is where Slash does what they've done so well in the past. Once again, let me showcase you exactly what we're seeing from these guys. It is going to be the bulletproof camera right here, called by Anthony and Sweater, who's on the angle as well. It can see Diaz planting, which is huge for their team. And as we press play, the C4 from below comes back up. And this is exactly what they did against Oxygen Esports back on Theme Park in week number 1. It's what got them 3 rounds in a row to start that match. It's the same mistake that we're seeing from from XSET here, and it's the exact same play that Beastcoast do so well in these late rounds with Intel.
Yeah, I'd be really critical of the way that XSET started to attack. It was a nice idea. When they had a really set plan in motion, it was great, but then some of them were like super slow. Sometimes it felt like the only thing they really had dialed in was their lockers attacks. Any other time you had to focus on window play or trying to get somebody out of a tight corner like that, it felt like it took way too long to get going. That flank from Yaga up spiral, I was waiting for it for the entire round. It felt like it came too late, and that kind of inaction from XSET felt like it was more often than not the catalyst for why they wouldn't win these attacks.
Yeah, meanwhile on the XSET side, there were some positives to talk about. And, we would be remiss if we didn't revisit round number 7 and Yaga's pretty epic 4K there. So we got to take a look at that one again.
Yeah, but there are good things to look at for Beastcoast here before we even worry about that clutch. So if you pay attention to what's happened here, we're already at about 5 seconds left in the round, and Beastcoast not only have hatch clearance, they've got a hole right here already opened up to try to clear out any XSET defenders who are already lurking inside. They get the plant down in default spot, which is great, and it means that Beastcoast have all the coverage in the world, but watch what Yaga does. He uses all of these holes opened up by Beastcoast against them, and then has superior positioning and is just able to swing in and find these kills. This play was insane behind the scenes. We watched this, I couldn't believe what I was seeing on the overhead, but that only happens because Yaga, he's baiting his teammate. I think he was waiting on blue nearly that entire round, waiting for something to happen. Beastcoast clear sight, open up what they need to, plant, everything looks like it's going their way, and then Yaga just pops up out of nowhere.
And it's a great round from Yaga, but you saw at the end, 16 kills after that clutch. Great, awesome. He ended the game through 5 more rounds afterwards with just 17. He only got 1 kill through his final 5 rounds. So it's a great play from Yaga, but it's unfortunate that it was his last.
It seemed like there was a moment where XSET, and this was kind of that moment, they were kind of starting to regain control of things. But after that, like you said, Beastcoast just comes back, seizes it, does not let it go. And they're going to need to kind of have that same sort of attitude, that same performance, if they're going to have a chance of making it to Berlin after stage 2. But hey, so far so good. 2 wins on the week for Beastcoast, so a great week for them here at the Rainbow Six NAL. For us, though, the day has only just begun. That's right, a lot more matches coming at you, so do not go anywhere. When we come back, it is going to be Sonics versus OXG after the Sonics performance yesterday. That's going to be an exciting one, so don't miss it. We'll be back in just a few here on NAL.